All right. Well, hey, Lodi High, class of 91. We're back after a little summer break. And today, 30 years later, we have the privilege of hearing from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brian Bonomo. Brian, say hi to your classmates.
Hey, how's everybody doing? It's been a long time, 30 years. Holy cow. That went by fast, I can tell you.
And Brian, I
Really
got to
did.
say, looking pretty good. As we go through the slideshow, you might be in the lead in terms of a person looking most like who they were back 30 years ago.
Oh, really? I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see some
Well,
of
we'll
those.
see if it's a tie-in to where your professional life has taken you.
Okay. Yeah.
Stay tuned. Um, but yeah, as we've done with all the videos since Mark, since your buddy Bryce here, my apologies again that we, as the guinea pig, we left you out of the slideshow fun, but I have a feeling you're going to pop up in some of these memories as we go today with Brian. But without further ado, let's go ahead and share your slides here and be able to use this as a little bit of a memory jog to get us going. And boy, how appropriate here. Brian, tell us about your time with Mr. Daniels.
I'm seeing, is that the picture? It's working. Oh, my God, there it is. Oh, look at that. That's such a great picture. I mean, Jeff and I have been friends since we were in the sandbox next to each other. I think it was in kindergarten. So we're
How
still
about
really
that?
good friends.
Now, do you remember where this was taken?
I believe it is in front of him. I think it's his house. I think that's
Okay.
in front of his house, right around the corner from me. I don't
Yeah.
remember me having brick, so I believe it's his house. And yeah, that was a great pick.
How about it? And yeah, still going strong through the high school years when it came to the football stuff.
Absolutely.
So now let's fast forward to this mugshot from the middle school
Wow.
yearbook.
Look at that Ronald McDonald haircut. Look at that. Holy moly. That is funny. Yeah, I don't know what my mom was thinking with that haircut, but I got a tie on, and I hate wearing ties, so that's cool.
Yeah, well, I tell you, your game face had a way of giving any sort of heft you needed if the tie felt like you were going a little too soft there.
Oh man, that's terrible. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, that fun kept going there. I'm guessing this is you here, yeah?
Yeah, that's me. Tie, the shirt. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, it's probably the
Yeah,
last.
you're
Yeah, the
sticking with your
last time I
game
wore a tie, I
face.
think, until my interviews when I was down
Yeah,
there.
there you go. Well, and you see Jeff across the aisle there. I suppose he was your right-hand guy, the wingman, so to speak.
Always together. Probably on almost every picture, I'll be next to him or Jeff or Jay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll have a theme moving forward here. Man, I got a kick out of this. So I always am curious to see if any of the classmates write in the yearbook. And I love the stud nickname. I don't recall anyone nailing me with that, but apparently you felt free to go there.
Oh yeah, I can't read. You know what? I got even worse handwriting now. My nurses can't. They don't even let me write a prescription. They write it for me because it's so bad. Now we do everything electronic. Thank God. Because
Yes.
I don't know.
I see. So the penmanship's gone downhill since this, huh?
Yeah, this is actually I can almost read it. But I do see, because you will see some real girls.
Real girls. How about that line? Remind me of what you meant by that. Hopefully not offending our classmates here.
I mean, I'm sure there's real girls in our high school. This high school, or is this?
No, this is middle school.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't remember.
Yeah. So I guess
I always thought you were a stud, but I don't know. Maybe, I know. Thinking about going to high school, that now you will see some real girls. I mean, because middle school, there's some girls there, But
yeah, that's right.
I was thinking now we're moving up to the big leagues. So
yeah, that's right. I suppose even the same girls going through puberty, right? You can take that any number of different ways, I would guess, right?
Right.
That's the softer way to not totally offend the whole class here.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So now we're up to Lodi High. Any recollection of inspiration down below there?
My friends, you see Sorrell, Leone, Coleman, Jeff Daniels, Eddie Aletta. when I said about Goodale, I lost to him when I was a junior. He was a great wrestler, and I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready there. And my brother Frankie always helped me through it, through everything, even through wrestling. And then, of course, I had to give my brother Glenn, good luck. Hope he did well, but we'll see.
And honestly,
it was not the 152. I was seeded first to win the states, but I didn't. And that's honestly, it falls on me because I didn't really. I don't think I prepared myself, to be honest with you, because I had talent, but I didn't take it to the next level, and I lost. And it's funny. After that, which was very, very painful of a loss, that's how I switched to do what I do today. I said, I didn't do well there, and I failed of winning the championship I wanted to because I didn't prepare myself. So then I prepared myself when I went to college, and then when I went for my master's and everything, I would probably over-prepare because of that loss. So I think that was a bad thing, but then it turned out to be a good thing for my life.
Failing forward, as they say, huh?
Yeah, 100%. Because anytime that I thought I would study enough, I studied more. Because I did not do that when I was a senior. I took it for granted, winning, and then of course when I came to the tough match, lost by 1, and now it's on me.
How about that? And good for you. That's a mark of wisdom when one can look at a defining moment like that being taking the L.
Oh yeah, it was. It absolutely changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow. That's really curious. That'll be a good springboard for kind of tracing that for life after college. Then stay tuned on that front. This is a nice little shot. You had
senior day, I think, right? With the flowers.
That's right.
Tansky? Yeah, it's Tansky.
Yeah, Tansky peeking through from the left, and Adamo, I think, right? Not Adamo, Mark Russo coming in there.
Mark Russo, yeah. I think he leaned back like that.
Yeah, that's right. trying to rob your thunder there.
I know, right?
So
there's
look at
Jeff
you again.
Jeff and I in the middle, and Dave Coleman, I think, is in front of Jeff.
Yeah. So along that wall there, the big class pick, I zoomed in to have the partners in crime together yet again. So on the gridiron.
Look at that, getting on the football field, running behind Big Komar. What does it say? I was smart, good choice? Yeah. Of course it's a good choice. Look at him.
Absolutely. I can still see that reverse play that you guys must have run several times a game senior year, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that reverse play was awesome. It was a great play. And we did good with that play. Of course, when you have Komar in front of you, it's always going to be good.
Not too shabby. Clear in the way.
Yeah.
A couple other football shots coming up.
There we go. Wow. That's a good one right there.
So Vinny gave us a little bit of his take on the life with the football team. What kind of memories come to your mind?
We had a great football team. We had all around. We were just a good team. We lost it at the end by a point. We were up by 3 touchdowns, I think, and they came back in the second half. We just didn't close the deal. I think we were actually a better team than Lenape that year. And then I think they won it. No, they lost again the next year by a point, and then they won it in Carreri, and they won it by a missed field goal or something, or a missed extra point. But I think we were actually better than Lenape, and we just didn't. A couple of bad fumbles and a punt that got deflected off. I think Vinny punted the ball, hit somebody in the head. Things just went weird on us. It never happened, but it happened all in that game, and unfortunately we lost. But we had a fantastic team.
Yeah, it felt like the classic case of a team that's clearly showing its dominance early on, but not cashing in as far as the scoreboard reflecting that. And leaving him in the game long enough to make a comeback. Yeah.
And it was funny. It wasn't like they did anything like they came out and like rolled on us. They didn't. That didn't happen. It was just bad plays, like again the punt and a fumble and a long pass. It was just weird things, man.
Yeah, cashing in on our mistakes, unfortunately.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. And remind me, did you play all 4 years?
No, I played freshman and then senior. That's it.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, good segue to the main event for you.
Look at
Nice
that.
little squad here as well.
Yeah, look at Jeff standing right by me again.
Can't get away from him.
No, man, he's like a twin. Look at the whole crew there. May,
Yeah.
Girardi, Murphy, yeah, Leone.
Not too shabby. And remind me, Brian, how early did your wrestling career start?
Oh, I started early. I probably was 6 years old, 5, 6 years old.
Wow, is that right? 6 years old.
Yeah, I started in rec real young.
Yeah.
Well, there's the crew right there.
There you go, the seniors.
Kid and play in the front with Jason and Ray Getz. Mike May, I think he's doing extremely well. I think he was a state trooper.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's awesome. Murphy, Leone, Jeff, and Girardi. Man, that is a crew right there. Holy
that it is. And two steady coaches there. Give us your recollection on Mr. D and Coach Torres.
Oh man, Coach Torres, he was, he actually was the first person to talk about, Jesus and the Bible to me. He was the first person to ever do that as a coach or a mentor, which was great. And Mr. D, he was, he was a fun coach. He wasn't. Some coaches, some people don't like coaches or think they're too hard. I don't think he was. I think he was probably the perfect. Not too easy, not too hard, right in the middle. They encouraged us. I got a funny story though. And so when he said, if you win, okay, act like you win. Don't be going overboard with the towel. You act like you would, like you've been there before. That was those two, Coach Torrey and D. And I wish I had the video. But what happened was we were playing, going against Passaic Tech at home, and we were getting dogged. We were getting beat 30-something to like 3. I mean, just beat up. And then suddenly they made a mistake because they put somebody out that they weren't supposed to. And then Mr. D turns around and it's like, they made the mistake. I'm thinking, mistake? We're getting dogged here. And then we put, I think it was like Murphy and Jeff and Leo. And then suddenly we start winning. Now it's the final heavyweight. Matt Caffiello was getting this kid was like sort of tossing him, but then he hit him with a lateral drop or a headlock and pinned him. Both of those coaches ran onto the mat, slid on the mat, going crazy. I said, what happened to the act like you were there before?
Yeah, how about it?
Oh my God, it was what a win!
Talk about choosing your spots to break your rule, huh?
Oh my God, they totally broke the rule. I mean, Coach Torres, he literally slid on there on his knees and just started going. Mr. D was doing some kind of dance. I don't know what he was doing, but it was just awesome, and I got it on film. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There's something to be said about saving your biggest emotion for those key moments, huh?
Yeah, it was good stuff.
So look at this shot, man. Whoever got this textbook for the pin, huh?
Oh yeah, nice cradle there. Yeah, catch him. I don't know whether it was junior or senior. I don't know. Either way, but that guy got packed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the only thing missing was it could have been Evan down below there. I'm trying to remember these epic battles you and Lamagna had from Menlo Park.
I know. Yeah, I know. The funny thing is, he met me down here in Florida.
Really?
So what happened was he sells memorabilia, and he was doing some big event here in Ocala, and he was selling like a Manning signed jersey. And so somehow he starts talking to my cousin who's down here. She was the one setting up the event. And he started talking about wrestling, and she said, oh, I have a cousin that's a really good wrestler. And he's like, yeah, well, I only lost like 1 or 2, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, who's your cousin? He goes, Brian Bonomo. And he's like, what?
What a story.
He's like, that's the one guy I lost to. And then she goes, where's he live? He goes, down the road. He goes, get me his number. So he calls me, and then we hooked up. We went to the Kentucky Derby because I'm into horses. I have some thoroughbreds. And, so we went to the Kentucky Derby together, and then we just, friends. We talk once in a while on the phone. But yeah, it was great seeing him. But yeah, he didn't get over that loss.
Oh man, what a story! What are the odds of that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he was talking all about it, and then when she said that it was me, he was like, "Wow." He's like,
Oh
he
my
couldn't believe
word,
it. Yeah.
small world. And remind me, how many times did you guys face off?
Well, when we were supposed to face off, I moved up, he moved away. I moved up, he moved away because that was smart for them. Because
Yeah.
that's how they tied us. Because I had to win, he had to win, and it was a tie. But then when we wrestled, we only wrestled once. Was in the finals of the states or semifinals as a team. I think it was Murphy. Murphy packed Foco, which wasn't supposed to happen, or beat Foco. That was not. The only way Elmo Park beats us if I get beat. So I moved up to wrestle him a weight class. He had to stay there for them to beat us. And oh my God, when he came out, you couldn't hear. I mean, Dante, Very, they were all in the stands. It was in Elmo Park screaming.
I'm trying to
Nuts.
remember, Brian, was that home or at their place?
It was at their place. It was Elmo Park.
Yes, I remember being there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was loud.
Ah.
Yeah. But we won. Lodi won, so I was happy.
How about it? And hey, you know what? And those are the best stories, right? For any of us that have done competitive athletics, you love the experience of getting after it and being all in on the field, on the mat, but then being able to be cool after the fact, you know, and be able to look back and, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a great story. So this is kind of a random shot in the yearbook. I was trying to discern what was going on in this necklace there. Any recollection?
Me too. I have no idea what that necklace is. Maybe I don't know what that is, but man, I look really thin there. I look I don't know. I look like Vanilla Ice. I don't know what I look like. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a little too early for too late for Grease Lightning, but yeah, maybe Vanilla Ice could have been the comp.
Yeah.
So then you got a couple of these shots of these clubs, and it cracks me up. You know, here you are again. Daniel's on your right shoulder here.
Yeah.
You know, some of these clubs coming up here. It's kind of interesting how many different places. So look at you two down below here from Math Club.
You just went in to take the picture. That's funny.
I can't quite remember what was going on Math League. I think that was the stuff we did at the school after school. I'm guessing with Mr. Reiser.
Mr. Reiser, yeah.
Must have been.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found in the picture, but oh well. We'll go by faith there. Science League. Any recollection what was going on here?
Where am I? I'm
so
up on the top.
Top there.
Is Coleman next to me?
I think so. To your left, to your right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he and I, we were good. We were good study partners for science and math.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Cam, I love Mr. Cam, man. That guy was, man.
Oh, that's coming up, actually. Here we go, Mr. Cam.
Yes, look at him. Holy cow. Who's next to me? Jeff.
Yeah.
There's J2.
Of course. Yeah, then I'm wearing the pizza shirt there. And poor Lori Pickart was the only girl in the class.
Oh, my God. I know.
This was probably the most random assortment of people in any of my classes in high school. But it was a ton of fun because, you know, all those experiments with Mr. Cam himself. Yeah.
So made it fun. This was the best class right here. I like this one the most. With Mr. Cam with chemistry and physics, dude, we did some fun. He was funny and he did some cool experiments. So
yeah, absolutely. Remember this one?
Wow, I do. Actually, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. See that?
Yeah.
That's actually that picture. I have it on my thing right here. My kids always ask me about that. I never showed them the article, but there's the article right there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Pretty cool.
And the quote in that article speaks to what you mentioned before in terms of your cranking up on the academics from this point on.
Yeah, and I did. You know, one of the teachers, well, two teachers, Mr. Reiser and Mrs. Ratty. Mrs. Ratty was a great teacher. I loved her. She was very great. I mean, let's be honest. I wasn't a student.
Yeah.
I never really studied. I never really thought it was important, which was dumb on my part. But I never applied myself. But Miss Roddy always said, like, Brian, I know you could do whatever you want. Just apply, just like you do with the sports. Just do it with school. And I always kept that in my mind, especially after that loss. And then I turned it around, and I had to get those 4.0s to get into school when I went to Rutgers and stuff. You had to. But when I was studying, and middle of the night, things always creep in your head, like, are you smart enough? You're good enough. And I always think what Mr. Reiser and Mrs. Ratty said. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's great. I tell you, Mr. DiGiacomo's gotten a lot of the love in the interviews up to this point. But that's cool of you to give Mrs. Ratty a shout out. Ninth grade English, if I remember, yeah?
Yes. And you know what? You're funny about Mr. DiGiacomo, because I think I was not doing well. And I remember a test, and he said something like, if I didn't get like a 90 or above, I was going to either get a D or an F. I forgot which one. Because, again, I didn't care about grades back then.
Right.
And I studied, and I got a really high grade. It was like 95 or above. And he looked at me. He's like, why don't you do this all the time? And he's like, if you can do it, I know you can do it. Just do it. And I'm like, yeah. And so DiGiacomo did tell me that one day when I did a test. I think Leone might have been in my class too. But yeah. So yeah, DiGiacomo was great. Well,
that's funny. It's funny the way you said that, Brian. As I was going through the slideshow, one of the things that kind of recurred to me was, didn't know you until middle school. And this theme of all in, the fact that when I now can look back and think about what it takes, on the wrestling mat, for example, we'll talk about wrestling and soccer later, but you always seem to be one of those cats that when you put your mind to something, you were clearly in the zone, and so, the results, were what they were on the mat for sure. But yeah, to then have Ratty and DiGiacomo plant those seeds that bring you to where you are now, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we got a little shout out to not only your 91 wrestling team, but to Dunkin' Donuts and Friends.
So
talk to us here.
This is kind of funny. So Jeff, Jay, me, Mark, we would wrestle. We had a cut weight. Most of them did. I didn't really cut weight that much, but sometimes I did. And then we would wrestle, and then we would go to Dunkin' Donuts in Ellen Park on purpose, not in Lodi. Just to go there to irritate some people. And we would go to Dunkin' Donuts and take a whole dozen donuts and eat there. We didn't leave. We made sure, and sometimes they would walk in and be like, what are these clowns doing here? But we did that. We missed that. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, my word. So I'm trying to picture, which Dunkin' Donuts is this?
It's in Elmwood Park.
On Market Street.
Whatever the main street is in Elmwood Park, there was a Dunkin' Donuts. We used to go up there, and I can't think of
funny. I was thinking more of the Friendlies trips, the Jim Dandy runs.
Oh, yeah. Jim Dandies are good, too. We did that usually on the weekend or after a tournament. But we used to go to Dunkin' Donuts. Even if we didn't wrestle in Elmwood Park, we'd still go to Elmwood Park anyway.
That was just the thing you did.
And then, hey, that's how, Jay dated their prom queen, and I dated a girl, Tracy Fiella from Elmwood Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, got it. Creating some memories, huh?
That's right.
And so Friends, I'm guessing, is actual Friends, not Friends, the TV show, yeah?
Correct. Actual Friends. And it's funny that you say that. I've never watched Friends. And so my wife, a couple of years ago, there's reruns. And we started watching it. I'm like, dude, this is a funny show. I like this show. So we watched every episode. But she asked me, like, we used to have Friends Friends night in college. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, we got together and we watched Friends. I'm like, okay, I didn't do that. So, so we watched it, and it was actually a good show.
Right. The power of streaming after the fact. And speaking of which, introduce us to your lovely family here.
Oh, okay. My wife, Christy, I met her at Suncoast Dermatology, and my three little boys, the little one Grayson, the middle one Landon, and the big one Braden, and they now are 7, 9, and 11. They're a little younger, but we were in, I think, Tennessee or North Carolina there.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah, we kind of like the the waterfalls and stuff.
And we think we're calling it a day at 3. Not going for the daughter?
No. Yeah, we're good at 3. I want to retire one day. My wife is from the mountains. She was from Virginia, Southwest Virginia, in the mountains there, and complete farm girl. Did cows? She worked on the farm there, and totally opposite of me. I'm loud. She's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
God's got a fabulous sense of humor with how he pairs us up, for sure.
Absolutely. She, yep. She also got me on the path. She went to a Baptist church 2-3 times a week for her entire life. So once we, started dating, and then, she was going to church a lot, and, kind of got me on the path of about Jesus. So which was great.
Fantastic. Now, what were how long did it take her to adapt to the tornado that is Brian Bonomo?
I don't think she has. I honestly don't think she has. She is definitely yeah. And of course, when my friends were hang out with, which we'll get Girardi, and because he's now in Florida, or Jay, she's just like, we're watching a football game. We're so loud. And like the first time she ever watched the Giants, I think it was Giants versus New England for the Super Bowl. She could not believe the stuff coming out of our mouths, and how we wouldn't sit down. We had to stand up the whole game. We had to jump up and chest each other just because we're so super. She's like, she's never seen anything like it. This is crazy.
Well, thankfully she's got a lifetime to be able to adapt, huh?
Oh yeah. And if my kids get a little crazy, she points at me.
Nice. Oh, that's super. So now we move on to the Thundercats +2, huh?
Oh, look at that. Yep. So Steve and Andy, they both live down in St. Pete, Tampa area. And so we started about 3 years ago, having a friendship in Florida. We'll pick a city in Florida. So we picked St. Pete. And Steve and Andy, of course, live there. And so, of course, the 4 horsemen, Jeff, Jamie, Mark, we got together. They wanted to join us, of course. And we had the whole thing, dinners, and hit some breweries and the beach, and it's a blast.
Yeah. Hey, creating those kind of ongoing traditions, nothing like it.
No, it's great. It stinks that it's once a year, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and remind us progression-wise. So, we'll get to your schooling, and ending up down in Florida. How about Jay's path? How long after you did he end up down there?
Maybe 6 years, 6 years.
Okay.
Maybe. So what happened was we had a meeting in Las Vegas, and I had a what's the name of the hotel? Not the Wynn. I forgot the hotel.
Garage or one of those, yeah. Yeah,
it was a big, and I had the whole suite my boss was getting for us, and said, hey, if you want to invite people. So I called Jay, I called my friends, they all met me out there. We had a blast. My boss really liked him. He said, hey, if you ever want to come to Florida, you can work for me. And so I think a year or two later, he was thinking he was doing well in New Jersey, but he had to work weekends, he had to work nights. We're in dermatology. It's 8 to 4. That's it. So he could, do maybe just as well and not do the weekends and nights. So he thought about it and came down to Ocala. I see him almost every day. He works. Sometimes he works. Most of the time he works with Dr. Masulo. Sometimes, and recently he's been working with me. And now he actually just finished his nurse practitioner school. He's going to be taking his boards, and he'll be a provider as well for our office.
That's super. Now, did you say Dr. Masulo?
Yeah.
Now, this is not the same Dr. Masulo who was a dermatologist up our way.
No, but there is a Dr. Masulo up your way. There's a dermatologist. What's the chances of that?
Yeah, well, because you brought back some bad flashbacks. In 6th grade, I had some warts on my face for some godforsaken reason. I remember him freezing them and then scraping them, and my having to go to school with these stupid circle Band-Aids on my face. So he may have done great work, but as a 6th grader, it wasn't exactly a shining memory to
oh my God, that is hilarious. So no, not that Dr. Masulo.
Not that. Okay, good to hear. Surely, you dodged a bullet there. And there's Jerry, huh?
Oh my God, yeah. So Jerry came down, I don't know how many years ago, and oh man, was it 5, maybe 6? He came down and stayed in Sarasota. I met up with him. I used to have a place down there. My dad actually lives down there, and we hung out in Sarasota. He really liked it. His wife liked it, and he said in the future, he may consider coming down. And 6 months ago, he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about selling everything up here and just going to Sarasota." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah," and he did. Sold everything and moved right on the bay. He lives in an awesome place in Sarasota, and he just I think he moved in like 3 weeks ago, and we met here. He was actually, I think he was closing on the place, and we went out, had dinner, took a boat ride, and he met my kids, and my kids loved him. He was funny, and we're actually in 2 weeks. There's a huge soccer tournament in Sarasota. He's like, "Oh, I'm coming. I'm coming." I'm like, "Oh my God, he's gonna be so loud." And then I'm like, "Yeah," because my son Landon and my son Braden are in a tournament down there. So yeah, it's craziness.
Well, I'll tell you, you got a little Lodi High South going on down in Florida.
I know, right? We got Jay, Andy, Steve, Girardi. There's other people that
Oh yeah,
Lodi that are down here. I
right.
think Murphy's down. Not Murphy. Yeah, John Murphy. I think he's in
John
Florida.
Murphy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gabby Vetrano from our class, and Chill
Dave
Bolin.
Coleman.
I think there's quite a few of them down there.
Yeah, Dave Coleman lives about an hour and 20 from me.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Joe DeMolo lives here too.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? When a reunion plan comes back on the table, there might be an attractive incentive to make our way south in the wintertime.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, I got to say, like every winter, I'm like, okay, it's not a matter of if, but when to at least do the snowbird thing for sure.
Yes.
So we'll see how it shakes out over time here.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your dad. So that's a good segue to talking about, thinking about life now, 30 years later from high school. Give us a sense of relationship with, with your parents, and kind of compare and contrast what your household is like, as far as how you see things, values, discipline.
Oh, yeah.
Is what you grew up with.
I still have a great relationship with my dad, but I thought we'd be closer, meaning geographically, right? He's in New Jersey. He does go to Sarasota as well, and I see him some. I don't see him as much. He's married to my stepmother Barbara, which is great. But I don't see him as much as I want to be honest. My mom is with Henry in Lodi, and they have kids up there, and also Frankie, our brother Frank, lives here in Ocala with me, like a mile, 2 miles from me. The whole everybody's down here. So, we have a good relationship. Again, I wish my mom or my dad lived here more, so I could see them. It's hard to travel with 3 little boys to get up there, but I think my mom's coming for Thanksgiving. They were divorced at an early age, and what I noticed, and so my first rotation when I graduated was in dermatology with Dr. Masullo, and I stayed with him. And I watched how he and his wife, with Christian values, and how they went about schooling and how they sat down with them. I've never had that in my life. They sat down, they went over each kid, what they did for the day. Tell me what your best thing was, what was a not so good thing today. And let's get to work, let's get to reading, this and that. And they were hammering that. And I was with them for a month. And I was just like, wow. I was like, that's completely different than the way I grew up. I was like, I don't think my parents asked me ever if I did my homework, like literally ever.
You're kind of free-ranging at Hilltop, huh?
What you say?
You were the free-range kid at Hilltop then,
huh? Oh, absolutely. There was no, that's probably why I did so bad, because no one kept me like, hey, you gotta do this. And if I didn't have to do it, then why do it, right?
Sure.
And that was the thought process when you're younger. At least it was for me. So watching that really, that impacted me. So when I had my family and I had my boys, we definitely every day, we do almost very, very similar. How was your day? And what did you learn? And What did you not like today? Always tell me what you liked first before you tell me what you didn't like. And then we do the schooling, the reading every day. We go math every day, and we science, pretty much do work every day. And they're like, why do we got to do this? I'm like, listen, I was like, Daddy didn't do it when I was younger. Now, Mom, let me back up. My wife, she's been studying her entire life. She got a 4.0 her whole life, and she's in a different world when it comes to studying. She knows how to study. I mean, there was a book. She's also a physician assistant in dermatology in our office, but we have 2 offices. I mean, there's a book. It's like this thick. It's a medical. It's like the Bible. She highlighted the entire thing in tablet. No one does that. It's impossible. She did. So she brings that to the kids, and I totally support her because I want the kids to get. If they don't succeed, it wasn't because we didn't prepare them. I want to prepare them, and if they do something different, I can't say I didn't help them, I didn't try. If I don't do anything and they don't succeed, I can blame myself, but I ain't gonna blame myself because I want to try to do the best I can for them. I want to prepare them. Again, I didn't prepare myself for that match. I lost, so I'm not having that for my kids. I will prepare them, and if they don't succeed, okay, I did my job.
Hey, that's fantastic. Our kids are a little bit older as teens, and we're the reality of their, being out of the house is becoming more and more relevant. And so you do come to realize over time that all you can do is plant the right seeds, right, and create the right environment that hopefully the stuff's going to be both taught and caught in terms of their seeing your example. At the end of the day, like you said, it's ultimately on them to then run with it, and be able to apply, hopefully for a life that's legit.
But it's hard though because where we live in the area that we live in, everybody. I'm in a community. It's a nice street. Everybody's a doctor here. Everybody's a lawyer, or they own like 10,000 hotels. But they see that in their head. And they think that's the norm, and I don't like it. The kid comes up with a $500 skateboard that goes 25 miles per hour, and he's like, I want one. You ain't getting one. He's like, well, what's his name has it? See, that I don't like. And they have no idea. I came, listen, I had a basement. We had 8 kids. My mom married, we did not have, I said, you have no idea. And I know you hear that from parents, but this is the truth. And so to them, in their eyes, they see this out here and like, oh, this is normal. We can just always to get this to that surgeon next door. That the work they got to put in is you have no idea. It didn't just come to them. It didn't come to me or my wife. So I almost feel like I don't want to live where I live. I want to live somewhere where they don't have anything, so they could appreciate it more. And really gets under my skin when they don't appreciate. But that one thing. If I could have changed, I probably would, but we make sure. So we actually got them those green light cards, those debit cards where they do chores and you can give them $5 a week and they can spend it whatever they want because they keep asking me. I'm like, I'm not giving you a dime. You want to put the money on it? Here it is. Here's the savings and here's the spending.
That's
you put
right.
in the savings, I give you 10%. And it shows them if they save it, how that compound interest to get them early. And if they want to waste something on Roblox, that game, I'm like, you want to waste it? Here's your debit card. You're not getting my money. So we instituted that probably about a month ago. So
nice.
We'll see how it goes. No one spent anything yet, so we'll see.
That's great. Hey, you can't start too early when it comes to training him in those things. And I don't have to tell you that it's a travesty that we live in the wealthiest nation in the world, and yet we don't systematically teach our folks, how to be excellent. And have the basic principles down, to be able to handle money in a responsible way. So kudos. Well, and that's a segue to talking about compare things like money and values growing up the way you did versus how it is now. You've already alluded to some of that. Are there any specific things that you're looking to continue from what your folks did with you and things that you kind of find yourself acting like them that you maybe don't want to continue? Or what?
Well, that is funny. So no, nothing continuing when it comes to the parenting. Although I try to, like, we used to go to Clyde's Ice. Remember Clyde's Ice in Garfield?
Yeah.
Okay, that was such a treat to me. I mean, I might have went twice a year, maybe twice a year. My kids get it literally every day, maybe every other day. And I'm like, you have no idea. I want a snack. Their snack is dessert. They literally get one, and I'm like, you get cookies, you get this, you get. I was like, I'm like, no, we're not getting today. We're not getting it today. I said, because you have no idea. My wife is the same way. She lived on a farm. They would go to the store and get a frozen ice, and that was like, wow, that was something big. It's not big to them because, like, dude, I get it 4 times a week. I was like, yeah. So we tried to bring that down. That expectation. I wish I was more like my parents in that, so they don't get it as much. But then when you make them a little spoiled like that, and even today, we're like, no, we're not getting anything, and they were all upset. And they think I'm joking, but then we don't get it. They know that. One thing my parents did instill was hard work, no matter what it was, and I do that with my kids, and I try to tell them about that. Listen, nothing comes easy. I always try to bring up examples. My stepbrother Henry, that passed. The dude was the hardest worker. Not just even in the wrestling room, he might not have had the God-given talent, like, you know what I mean? Meaning, like, he just wasn't the super athlete, but he was tough as nails, and he worked to make him an elite wrestler. So, if I worked like him, I would have been an Olympic champ. I mean, he worked, and I should have did that my senior year, worked like Henry, because that dude. But he took it even to his work, and they named the PSC&G their school. They named it the Haskell School of them after he passed.
Wow!
Because he was so he got really high in the company. He worked really hard. He had a side business. He was just a very hard worker. And I always tell my kids, like, I literally bring his name up all the time because I say, you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the most athletic, but if you put the work in, you can be up here. It doesn't mean that you can't. I mean, most of the guys from Lodi, I mean, myself, I might not be the smartest, but I work hard and I do pretty good. So it's all about Jerry and Jay and Jeff and we all. I mean, we were like, Mark was always pretty smart. At least you think he is.
He knows this, I'm sure. So choose your barbs carefully.
Yeah, exactly. But he works hard as well.
Yeah.
He was naturally gifted with some brains. Sometimes I question it, but yeah. So we it's all about hard work. So that I take over for my family and bring it to my kids.
Yeah. I like to think, the humble roots of what Lodi bring. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we look back and say, how in the world did we cope with this stuff? But I got to think that was a pretty universal thing, where perhaps it's part of the immigrant mentality, in a small, humble town like that, where ultimately, hey, it's on you to do your part. You can't control what happens to you, but you can't control how you respond and, how you have the attitude to make something of yourself and the people you love.
Exactly. And, one thing I do wish I carried over more, we used to walk to school, right? We walked at middle school, high school. My mom would be like, I wouldn't come home until like 9 at night. I was in grade school. My kids, they can't even go on the block without me knowing where they are. So it's like a totally different world. And it's like, are we those parents? It's just, I don't know. I just can't let that happen. Like my son, who's 11, can I bike around the block? I'm like, make sure you go. I'm like, yes, you can go around. Because, I just think of different things. But we're in a community, gated community, but still. So I'm like, yeah, you just make sure you come back. You make sure I see you. We're like a little overprotective. Where when we were younger, we're playing manhunt in the middle of the night, just crazy, going by, Vinny and Kevin Dowson May on the other side, and us
in the cemetery
on the other
over
side
there,
of the tracks. We would come over to their side and play with Mike Prelick and all that. It was the funnest. It was so fun. It was so fun to do. Now there's no possible way my kids would be doing that.
Yeah, some things do change for sure.
Yeah.
How about your relationship with your brothers? How has that evolved over the years?
Frankie, great relationship. He lives here in Ocala, so I see him. He was here last night, actually. We're still really tight. Glenn, I haven't seen him in a long time. He went on a little different path. He had some bumps in his road, and I had to bring him down to Florida. He got straight. He had to go to a place to help him with some drinking, and he straightened up, and now I think he got a job last week, and he can start up and get his life back together. So I think he can. He's hopefully he gets. I wish he was here, so I would help him even more, because just getting when you're so far away, I could go over him and help him and be with him, and but I couldn't do that, so I did bring him down here for I think a month and a half, and so now he's back up there, he's doing pretty good. So we're close when it comes on the phone, but we don't see each other a lot.
Right. And, it didn't dawn on me until right now that just as you had two brothers, you got your three boys at home, doing the three brother bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's it like specifically being a dad to all boys?
God knew I couldn't have a girl. The funny part is we needed help that, we tried for like 2 years and we couldn't have got pregnant. So we needed to have help, and we had the first two. And then my wife was like, I wanted to go get a vasectomy. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to do that. And the doctor said there's pretty much impossible, even if we had help, to have another kid. So all my friends went, I didn't, and then the next month she's pregnant. So I'm like, and I really thought it was a girl. I said, God is going to test me with this one, and it became a boy, because I knew he knew that I couldn't have a girl. So, but Jay got the girl. He just had a girl a month ago, and she is a doll. Oh my God! If I had that girl, she would have me wrapped. Anything she wanted, she would have. So, So,
well, of course, now she's going to have an entourage looking out for her.
Oh God, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, her brother, she has a little brother, Jack, and then she'll have Braden, Landon, Grayson, then Landon will be the enforcer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and speaking of which, we're gonna have to go there at some point here. Tell us about how soccer now has become part of the Bonomo way, huh? Give us some details, bro.
I hope my dad doesn't watch this, because he literally calls me every week. When is Landon going to go on the wrestling mat? When is Landon going on the Because my son Landon, all three of my boys are pretty athletic. My son Braden, he's slender, fast. But Landon's a piece of iron. So I had him on a wrestling mat when he was 3. But the thing is, I don't want to teach him. I can't. I don't have the patience, and I get too angry. So I don't want to teach him. And around here, there's not good wrestling coaches. So the first sport you can play is soccer. 3 years old in Florida. So he was walking at 8 or 9 months, kicking a soccer ball or anything round. It could be this big, this big, this big. He kicked it at 12 months. And my friend who played professionally said, your son's going to be a soccer player. I said, over my dead body. I was like, I'd rather him be a cheerleader than a freaking soccer player. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
I went freedom soccer because I know the freedom theme would ring with you.
Okay, that's great. So then he went out as a 3-year-old playing with 3 to 6-year-old, and he scored 50 goals in 6 games. And I'm like, this is disgusting. And then I'm like, then he just rolled from there. And then my other son played. Now all 3 played travel. All 3. We're all over Florida. It's nuts. And all my friends say the same thing. They're like, when's he wrestling? I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So it's all soccer. And I got to say, my wife, she even said it before. She's like, I'm obsessed. I'm actually the manager of our team, and we're probably ranked in the top 6 in Florida. But I searched the teams who were playing and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I can't believe that I said, can you imagine if you wrestled? I was like, even worse. It's like, yeah. So like, you're all in on soccer now. I'm like, my kids play it. I got to be.
Yeah. How about it? And that to your point there, again, you can lead them to the water, but ultimately they got to decide what they're drinking, so to speak, right?
I heard a statistic I still can't believe that my friend told me. He said, do you know how many people watch football, like the NFL? I go, no. He goes, ask Siri. I think it's 150 million. He goes, ask her how many people watch soccer in the world. It's 4 billion. 4 billion? I was like, what? I could not believe that. I was so shocked. I was like, I can't. He goes, it's the world sport, dude.
Right.
I couldn't fathom that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty wild. You got the MLS league here in America, and it's growing, and
it's
it's got
growing.
its little niche to it. The size of the stadiums, they've been really smart as far as any ticket in those stadiums. Boy, is a great seat in the house. Even if you're not a big soccer person. But I tell you, Brian, to your point, you got so many of these leagues available online and through streaming that it's hard to keep up with all of it, if you really want to get engaged. But even
Right.
the YouTube phenomenon, to be able to see clips of Messi doing a bicycle kick a couple of weeks ago, it is pretty wild to, be able to get a,
Oh, my
feel
kids
for
watch it
what.
all the time. Yeah, they watch those all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I know you're a big jiu-jitsu guy as well, right? How are you weaving that in with the boys?
Well, so when I came down here, I wanted to transition my wrestling and to do a little jiu-jitsu. So
Right.
I did a little. I didn't actually do too much, and the reason is because I had two surgery, my neck fused. So and the funny thing is, I didn't know my shoulder was torn in high school. It always hurt. I mean, I always hurt my shoulder, and always my shoulder, and it did hurt. I didn't know that, so I graduated high school, went into college, and then even in college when I was wrestling, my shoulder was hurting. I'm like, man, my shoulder hurts. So then when I left, they did an ultragram on me, and they said, dude, your muscle's in half. So I had to have pins put in my shoulder and everything, and I'm like, I thought I was being a baby when I was in high school. I'm like, man, get over it. But no, it was torn. And he said it was scarred up so much. It must have been years ago that you did this. I'm like, it probably was. And so I did jiu-jitsu for a couple of years. And then I'm like, and then the guy actually, unfortunately, he passed. The guy who was running the thing had a heart attack during a surgery. So I never really went back. I probably been not in there for like 10 years. So, but yeah, I'm definitely not teaching. My kids, I taught my little son how to wrestle when he was 3. He went to school and took some kid down. So my wife yelled at me. So I was like, I'm done. I rolled up the mats. They're in my garage even now. And I'm worried if I ever told them some of that and they did it, I'd be in trouble. So I probably have to wait till they're probably like 11, 12 so they can understand.
There you go.
Don't put somebody in a rear naked chokehold, dude. You can't do that for fun. Yeah.
Well, I guess you got to play the long game, and that time will come, hopefully.
Yeah, one day. Yeah.
So let's transition and talk about your schooling and what you're doing professionally.
So when I went to Lock Haven, I went there for wrestling, and I remember in my mindset that I wanted to study now, right? Because it took this whole time to want to study. And the first class I took was an anatomy physiology class. The guy was a chiropractor, and he was jacked. He looked like an athlete, and I could not believe the body. Like when you start to learn the anatomy and the pathophysiology and the muscles, I loved it, and I studied my brains out. I wanted to get the best grade. I wanted 100 and everything, and I did on that class. And then I'm like, wow, what's the next one? Kinesiology. And I just started taking all these classes, and I just thought more and more that I wanted to be in medicine. And I didn't know if I wanted to go to be an MD. Actually, I was thinking about being a physical therapist or an MD. And then I kept taking the classes, and one of my friends that were on the wrestling team with me mentioned about a physician assistant and told me about that. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And then I transferred out of Lock Haven to Rutgers in New Brunswick. Did the same thing there. I was focused, and again in my head I was thinking I don't want to fail like I did when I was in high school in that wrestling. So I studied. I did well, and then I applied at Rutgers and Florida. Now Rutgers, I needed something else. I don't know what I needed, but there was a class or something I still needed to take. Where Florida I did not. So I came to Florida and I saw the Gators. Okay, the colors. All right, were awesome. So I'm like, okay, just bring it right from high school.
There's
and
a
I'm
thing.
like, I saw the campus. I'm like, this is where I'm going. And I went and applied. I got in, and then I was thinking to do orthopedics because athlete, and then all the problems I had. And one of my friends, we played flag football for like 6 years. He was a dermatologist. And I started showing him doing surgeries and everything. His PAs are doing surgeries and wrote their own prescriptions. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You go 8 to 4 and no weekends, no nights? He's like, yeah. And you get paid for all these surgeries? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I've been doing it 23 years, going on 23 years. Same office, same doc.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
In an economy where unfortunately that's becoming the exception, not the rule. Count your blessings that you can, go the distance with a gig like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good thing.
And the times that you and Jay have shared about, your camaraderie and just the way you guys roll, seems like you guys are thrilled.
Dude, sometimes when he's the nurse in the room and I'm waiting for the knife and he's going to pass it to me and I'm like, dude, hurry up. And he's like, shutty. It's like we're in high school, but the patient's probably like
you got to be your best behavior.
We don't, none of those bars. No. It's comical in the rooms with him and I. It's just like we were just like in high school. So it's fun. It's fun seeing him.
That's fantastic.
It's great when he actually works with me because he's in the same room as me. So we if he's from New Jersey, oh, forget it. Then we're all over the place. Right.
That's great. Hey, when you consider a third of your waking hours is, in your professional role, to be around people that, you're, having a good time and being able to serve people, you don't take those things for granted, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm happy that I at least have one of my best friends living close to me.
Right.
So.
Hey, let's talk about approaching the second half of life here. Most of us are just turning or about to turn. What's that?
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Jeff?
You're pleading the fifth here.
Yeah.
So the thought of turning 50. And thinking about, some of that midlife stuff. Give us a little bit of a window into that mind there as to, when you look back and look forward, what kind of stuff comes to mind?
So I can't believe that it's 50. It's actually next month, September 27th.
Nice.
And out of the 4 horsemen, I turned 51st. So of course I'm going to get it. Yeah, I'm sure. It went by fast, I wish I did more things in my life, meaning traveling. People put work first, and I absolutely, unfortunately, did that because you get, when you're in dermatology or in medicine, well, not always medicine, but in dermatology specifically, because you do so many procedures, you get paid for what you do. You don't do it, you don't get paid. It's not like if you take a vacation, you still get paid. No. So I tend to not to do that, and I plan on doing more. So I do plan on doing more now I'm turning 50. I want to visit places I always wanted to visit. I want to go places like Italy, which I've never been. We almost did that, but we kept having kids, so that put the kibosh on that. So I want to get that done, and I don't want to work until 60 something. I want to work maybe. My goal is 50. With the kids, though, they're expensive little dudes, and insurance for them, schooling's private, all that starts to add up. But if the horses do well, and other things that I have do well, then maybe 55, maybe we'll see. It just depends on certain things. But yeah.
Well, you mentioned the horses again. Let's talk about how'd you get into the horse gig?
So my father-in-law was dabbling into like thoroughbreds, and then once I went to the Kentucky Derby years ago, and he was dabbling, and I was dabbling a little with him. Man, I really liked it. I really like. Let's get into the breeding. Let's get into the thoroughbreds. So we started to do that more. And actually, I have a horse for sale next month at the yearling sale here in Ocala, because Ocala has a huge. It's called the horse capital of the world, Ocala. It's Kentucky, Ocala. Well, Kentucky has the best studs for horses by far. Ocala trains them, though. We train the horses down here. So I started getting more into it. We probably have 7, I think, now. And it's fun. You sell them and you watch them go into the racetrack. Someone else owns them then, but you're the breeder. So it still feels like you're part of it. So it's a thrill. It's a thrill to do that.
Now, do the boys have any involvement, in any sort of history?
We bring them up to the farm, and we let them see the horses. I want them to start doing a little more, like shoveling it and start doing stuff like that. We watched the Kentucky Derby. Actually, Zandon was picked to win the Kentucky Derby. I had his sister. I have a sister from the same upstart who's in the sale. So I get them to watch it, and they're like, hey, our horse is actually the sister. So they start getting a little excited to know that there's, oh, look at that. That's his old brother. Right. And so they start to feel it. And they're of course to say, oh, are we getting that money when you sell it? Did you do anything? No, you ain't getting anything. You're just looking at the horse. You got to actually feed it and this and brush it and all that kind of stuff. So walk it.
The old teach them how to fish instead of just giving them the fish, huh?
And those horses eat, oh my God. They eat a ton, dude. They eat 12 pounds of grain a day, and the grain ain't cheap. So we feed some stuff. So they need to know you got to put in money to get money.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, certainly some of this is coming from my financial planning background, but as far as envisioning an early retirement, one of the things we always found fascinating is you may be ready financially, but often people aren't necessarily thinking about what their time's going to look like, and a time budget, if you will, in terms of knowing that at our core, there's still something valuable about being productive, and about living a life where you're still providing value to people and meaning to yourself. Maybe not necessarily in the same capacity you're doing it now. So, how are you and Christy thinking about that in terms of where you find yourself pouring your life when that time comes?
So the funny part is, my wife's younger than me by 8 years, I think, 7 years.
Yeah.
6. Sounds something like that. 6 or 8. I forgot what she. Yeah. Either way, I went first.
Robbing the cradle, are we, huh?
Yeah. So she went first. So I said to her, so I'm planning in my head. I'm like, just so you know, honey, if I retire, are you going to still work for 6 years? She looked at me. She's like, no. I'm like, wait a minute. I started 6 years before you. Don't you think you should work 6 more? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. So I just was checking because I need to know this because if I'm my plans, that's out. All right. So then I got to start thinking of other things. The horses could be something, right? Sure. I mean, those horses could sell, but that's not guaranteed. I speak for a few companies for biologics, so maybe I could do that, dabble, or do something completely different. I mean, I'm not going to not work. I'll do something, but to generate money, feel like I'm doing something. But it may not be in the same capacity that now. Because I see a lot of patients. I mean, I'm very busy to a point where my wife said if I saw your schedule, I think I would just jump off a bridge. That over years, the 23 years of doing it, it starts getting to you a little bit. And plus, it takes me 55 minutes to drive there, 55 minutes to drive back. So Dr. Masulo has been great to me. And in the future, as long as he works, and I will work with him. But he's 65. He might run for Congress. I don't know what his future is, but I know that I will be with him. If he needs me, I will work there until he says I could. Hey, if you wanted to go, you go. But I want to just leave him dry.
Right. He's your Michael Scott to your Dwight Schrute, office-wise, huh?
Yeah, or what's the Suits? Remember the?
There
Suits?
you go. I haven't seen that show, but yeah, I get where you're going.
We gotta watch that show. It's a great show, though.
Is it? Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting topic when it comes to thinking about entertainment choices with you and Christy and with the boys. Give us a sense of what you guys like doing hobby-wise beyond the horses and soccer, and what kind of stuff do you guys listen to, watch together, that sort of thing.
I just got my kids into hunting. So I bought my son Landon and Braden last year when they were 8 and 10. They like it.
Nice.
So we're gonna be going again this year. So we do that together. Grayson's a little too young at 7. It's very hard because we have soccer literally every single day except Fridays. We don't. We have 2 or 3 practices a night. And then on the weekends, we're on different parts of Florida. We're in Ocala, Orlando, or Melbourne. And so that's just nuts. So we don't have a lot of time to do things. We do watch some TV. We watch some movies once in a while. I brought them to Top Gun. They really love that movie.
Yeah, I've yet to see it, but boy, it seems like universally folks love it.
I do. I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, but that movie was great. I wanted to be a pilot when I came into that movie. I was like, yeah, that was a great movie. I just started them on Mission Impossible because they were like, who's Tom Cruise? And they saw the preview to the new one. I'm like, you can't watch that until we watch the first one. So we watched the first one, and they're like, oh, they're all excited to watch the second one. So we're going to start doing those kind of things and watching.
Nice. Well, that's good. And they're at the ages, Brian, where you can still have them watch some of the old stuff and not give you a hard time. I can't tell you how many eye rolls I get if I recommend any movie like before 2000, even a movie like The Matrix, for example. The sequels were okay, but the original one, to me, is still one of these like game-changing type movies, you know? Right. And I can't get them over the hump, a 17 and a 15-year-old to even consider watching an old movie. So with Top Gun, to your point, I kind of want to have them see the original before we go see the Maverick, and no dice yet, but what are you going to do?
We did watch the original first.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
We did watch the original. I would not let them watch it unless they saw that. And they said the same thing, though. They're like, this looks old and blah, blah, blah. They got into it. I did try to watch The Karate Kid. Yeah, that didn't work out. No. Yeah. They're bored. They were like walking around. I'm like, forget it. And I clicked it off. You have no kids. You don't know.
Right. Yeah. I did have a win showing Good Will Hunting to my oldest. You know, it's one of those movies that you don't require the special effects per se. You know, the story kind of carries it. And you got to pick and choose your spots there as to
a great
shaping their interests, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah. So I'd be remiss to have a conversation with you and not talk about worldview stuff. You know, you're probably the most conservative guy of the bunch when it comes to how passionate you can be, right? When it comes to thinking about that stuff. So give me a sense of how much of that dates back to your Lodi roots, and maybe any other defining moments there, or even in any other part of your life that, as you think about 30 years from today, other events or things that kind of shape who you are today.
You know, it's funny. I never was into politics, ever. I mean, I never discussed it. Even in college, I didn't even really discuss too much. Maybe a couple of things, and maybe I always listened to when Clinton and then Bush, but I really didn't get too much until I started working. And I really started working, not these little jobs, I started working. And then I started listening, to more stuff, and just listen how, different perspectives. I came from somewhere I didn't have a lot, and then I worked really hard to get what I want. And then it came all to this point where they want to give it to the people that didn't want to work, but they're going to give them the money that I got. And I'm not privileged. I worked my brains out for it. So it's like, then that kind of started bringing me to the right a little bit. And that's where it all began. And then my boss ran for Congress, or the House representative here in Florida, and he's been the House representative Republican. So, of course, I delved more into different kind of politics and stuff like that. And some of the things that just, clicked with me, I thought was like, he told me one day, he was like, yeah, I tried to get where they give the free cards for food. He's like, I want to change it because you can buy candy and soda on it. He's like, we're giving this to kids and getting diabetes and cavities. We want it to be the staples, right? Meat, everything you need, milk, cheese, everything you need. But I want to try. So anyway, when he tried to do that, he said people stood up and like, well, you're taking candy away from kids. He's like, no, I'm not. I was like, I'm just not paying for the candy. And the mindset was totally different than his and mine. I'm like, you're getting it for free, and it should be good stuff we're giving you, not to make you sicker that we have to pay for, later on. So anyway, that didn't go through. So then this started me to be a little more conservative. And then there's some things like the environment I'm all into as well. But some of the things I'm strong on, when it comes to values of the house and family and border and security and all those things, that's me. So
Yeah, and I think the name of the game is always to, be able to think very carefully and critically about, issue by issue. And, how can you have your convictions and be rigorous with the ideas while still being respectful of people, right? And being able
Absolutely,
to,
absolutely. And I
always
mean,
know
it's
that,
funny.
hey,
If someone has a different opinion than me, I'll argue it.
yeah,
But I'm not going to think anything different if they're the
that's
complete
right.
opposite. And I have friends that are the complete opposite. I believe my stepmother might be the complete
Yeah,
opposite. But I, um, I still respect them, and if they have an opinion, I'm going to fight for my opinion.
yeah, that's right.
I'll say, yeah, this now, and we'll argue. But at the end of the day, it's your opinion, it's my opinion. And if you
Yeah,
don't like me because it's my opinion, then okay. And
yeah,
that's where the world is today. I think people don't like somebody, or if you don't believe in something, you must be a hater. If you don't
yes,
believe a man can be a woman, you are transphobic and you're this. No,
right.
it's my opinion. You have your opinion that it's okay. I have my opinion, and that's love.
Yeah,
I mean, I have transgender in my family. I have a gay in my family. I mean, I have that in my family, so I
yeah,
know. I still love them.
that's right.
They're still my cousin. But people are like, you must hate them. Like, where did the word hate come from? Just because I
Yeah,
don't agree with it. I mean, everyone's a sinner, right? Everyone.
yeah,
So in
that's
God's
right.
eyes. So I
Yeah,
mean, I think the world needs to get better at that. Listen to
yeah,
somebody's opinion. They might not believe in your opinion. You might not believe in that, but you could still,
yes,
camaraderie and be
yeah,
friends and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a guy that I read one of his articles this morning before church, and he's often writing about, just lamenting just how much people are quick to demonize folks who don't agree with them. And he showed these charts of basically showing where the trajectory is moving in terms of if you tend to be more left leaning or right leaning, how inclined are you to see the other perspective as evil or as unacceptable? And it's just crazy, bro. You see how these charts are going, and
Yeah.
social media, for a lot of good it brings to the table, in terms of being able to enable things like this and communication with people who aren't already automatically around you. On the dark side, of course, it makes it very easy for you to just hang out with your crowd, and your
Right.
tribe, that whole group thing, and you
Yeah,
can get those echo chambers in such a way that, we've forgotten that, we probably have a lot more in common than we do different in so many different capacities. And
Yeah.
yet it's so easy to make the places we disagree on be, the defining ideas that shape what our relationship is. That's what
Oh,
not meant to.
yeah, I agree. I don't think the media helps with that at all. Both
Sure.
sides. I mean, no matter if you're conservative, I think the media pushes that. I think they like that. And I just wish they all just did the news. You know what I mean? Just say the facts and that's it. But it's just not
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a website that one of my church friends turned me on to. I forget the exact, but basically Blind Spot is one of the themes of this website. And essentially what it does is it will show you the articles and headlines that aren't basically shown in left-leaning media, and likewise articles and themes and events that aren't shown in right, so it's very easy to happen on either extreme, when
Absolutely.
it comes to just wanting to conveniently ignore sometimes hard issues and things that, depending on how you're seeing human nature, life is more complicated than having black and white and everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
there are very few things in life that are truly black and white. And so if that's the case, there's going to be challenges, when it comes to what is the relationship between your personal responsibility and the private sector, hopefully working together, to make for better communities and nations and what have you. But we're so quick to want to have the easy answer, that we're not willing to have those hard conversations and the value of compromise, to
Right.
know that. And just like in business, a great deal is one where both sides give up something, but you're hoping that long term you're still moving the ball forward. You're getting a first down, and maybe if you're not getting a touchdown right now, and
Right.
a lot to learn, and as parents, a lot for us to model for our kids, when it comes to, having them know how to be a great friend, even when you're around people you may disagree with, or maybe hard to get along with. Easier said than done, but those are battles worth having, to teach them.
Absolutely. There is. Yeah. And it's funny because I actually took my kids out of public school and put them in a private Christian school. And the reason was because they, different values, or they'll start saying, I just wish they would just teach math, science, reading. That's what you do. When my kid comes home and he says that, hey, I guess I could be a girl. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it said that you can be whatever you want. I don't believe in that. So, and in school, I don't want their opinion of what you think is right and what I think is right. What I think is right is math, science, and everything like that. But when you're telling a kid who's in fourth grade that, and then in his head, then it starts to, and then that's where I drew the line. Like, okay, you're out. So I took all three out and put them there. And schools sometimes, it's tough. It's a tough situation there as well. I just want them to teach what, I'm not. If I was a teacher, I'm not going to tell them that I believe that what I believe, or I'm not going to tell them what, if I'm a Republican, this, that, you should believe this, you should believe. I'm not. I'm just going to say this is math, this is science, this is history, blah, 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 and just teach it. Yeah, I don't remember ever talking about people's personal life when I was in high school or grade school. Who were they married to, and this, that. I had no idea what political party they were to this day. And that's how it should be. They just did the facts. They taught us what we needed to know, not what their opinion is on something like that to a little kid. I just, I don't like that.
Right.
When they get older, they have that discussion. Yes, but third grade, second grade, fourth grade. No.
Yeah. I think there's clearly discernment needed when it comes to, essentially trusting the parents enough, to know when those kind of topics, that, are endemic to, what it means to be human and to have, a good life. Yeah, you got to be selective about how you touch those things in school. My son, a rising senior, he did a PT internship this summer because he was considering it. And he is finding he loves to read and write so much that he can't get away from seeing that as part of what the future might hold for him. Now, considering the price tag of college, it's kind of a scary thought, to think of like an English major, right? But at the same time, Bri, I'm kind of an old school liberal arts guy at heart, in the sense of I firmly believe that if you know how to think and communicate well, right, orally and written, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can do with that, right? To live a successful life and to be a blessing to people through the work and vocation you choose. And so it has me thinking about, the role of a teacher. Maria was on a couple of episodes ago, and I'm so grateful for the passion she has of wanting to always stay on top of what are the best ways to inspire and get kids to get excited about learning, to be a teacher, to be a parent, to be a leader in work, and walk the fine line of not just kind of like not giving them the fish, so to speak, but helping people know how to think and kind of come to themselves as far as, the self-discovery process of, who hasn't had the experience as a parent where you watch your kid, have to show some grit and work through something. My daughter, this could be a whole other episode. Our daughter, 15-year-old, entering the world of dating, when it comes to like the times that she wants us to make decisions for her, it's very easy at times to want to do that, right? But the fact is, our goal is to help our kids, grow in their decision making and become wise. And so it's very easy short term, to want to just give the answer, so to speak, and take the easy way. But the fact is, life requires you to sometimes work through stuff, and be able to hopefully take the foundational stuff that you're learning at home and then determine how you apply that in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Anyway, it's a high calling we have when it comes to, doing what we're doing to, make a difference, in our household and beyond. That doesn't always mean an easy route, to get there.
Yeah, I think it would have been easier 15 years ago if my kids were out of high school, but now they're little. Today's world, all my
Right.
friends, kids, except Jay, their all kids are all older and then in college,
Right.
kind of young. So it's it's tough.
That's right. You're just getting started.
I know. Oh my God. I know.
Well, hey, so bringing this little time for a landing here. I always like ending by having our guests be able to think about a message you'd want to give out to your classmates. If we had the billboard up on 46, on Route 80, Route 17, and you can get a message out to your fellow alums, what would you say to them?
In terms of what, like about life, about what?
Good question. You could take that any number of ways, right? It could either be some great words that you have found to be kind of your guiding principles since high school, or memories, however you want to take that. I'm going to leave it open-ended.
That when they say you could be whatever you want to be, and it is true. Even when you're younger and you're in school and you're not doing well, like I did, and there was teachers that were not the nicest to me, or said some pretty horrible things. It would put you down, and think that you couldn't be anything. And I'd be honest, even in high school, I thought I wouldn't be. So I would say that even if you have kids that are like that, just remember, I was like, they don't have to be the best right now, but as long as they know how to turn it on. I mean, it took me to senior year to freshman year in college to understand that, and then it totally brought me into a different way. I mean, I went from, I don't even know. I mean, God, if I had a 2.0, I didn't know what I had in high school because I didn't care, so I don't even know what I got. But I wanted a 4.0 after that, and I did pretty much the whole way through. So to know that if you do have kids that are like me back then, just know there is hope. And I remember a kid came out after I saw this kid as a patient, walked outside. He saw my car, he came over, and he's just like, dude, this is so cool, and that. And he just graduated high school. He was a black kid in town, and I think his mom was raising him. And I said, you can be whatever you want. He's like, well, I didn't do so great. And I gave him my whole story. He looked at me, he's like, are you serious? I said, no, I'm dead serious. I was like, I did terrible. I got left back in third grade. I think I got a 2.1 in high school, barely. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, but that doesn't matter. What matters is right now, what you're going to do. I was like, you could do whatever you want. I was in the parking lot for an hour. I promise. If you look on my friends list, there, and I'll share his name later. He became a nurse practitioner.
Wow.
Told me the day that he became a nurse practitioner, and then he helps people in Arizona and helps them with drug rehab, and he does this whole thing. Now he's like a minister at a church. So it's just craziness. I was like, so now he's a nurse practitioner helping people with drug addiction, helping them with medicine to get them off the drugs, and he's a minister. Dude, wow. Every time I see that picture, his name is Ray Hamilton. You can look him up. He is an inspiration because he didn't do well either. But I don't know what I said, but it was an hour in the parking lot just hanging out in my car. And I told him exactly what happened with me. And I said, listen, my mom was single real early. We had 8 kids. That he got I gave him like sort of what position he was in. And then his face. And I didn't see him for like after that, probably 4 years. And I walked into a meeting and he was there, in a tie and everything, graduated. I'm like, and he saw me and I'm like, oh my God, he goes, I'm not done. And I'm like, what? He goes, I'm not done. It's like, I just applied to be a nurse practitioner school in Arizona. I'm like, dude, then he graduated, and you see, if you look at, he's my friend, he has the cap and gown on and just went crazy. So bottom line is, no matter if you have kids that are maybe not the smartest or they're not doing well, just know that they can. It just has to be in their head that, maybe it wasn't your time in high school or grade school, but after, you could pretty much be whatever you want to be if you put your mind to it. And it is true. So yeah, he's definitely he's an inspiration for me.
Woo, man, yeah. That's a drop the mic moment right there.
Yeah, it was.
That's very cool. And hey, kudos to you. It's not a given. that folks are going to be able to take that kind of turn and be able to let setbacks propel you the way they should. They all, are you going to become bitter or you can become better? When it comes to, it's not if hardship comes, it's when it does. And what you do with it makes all the difference. So, fantastic. That's great. Brian, this is super. Certainly not as good as it would be in the flesh. So, we'll see what reunion plans look like over time here. But thanks for sharing. And I'm excited to have our folks be able to watch this and be able to be inspired, be encouraged, because at the end of the day, we're all fumbling our way through. So we're hoping that this is going to be a good source of laughs, good source of reflection, good source of encouragement.
Absolutely. It was great. I'm glad you're doing this. I love hearing from the people that we graduated from. We were a pretty close class, I think.
Yeah.
And listening to all of them, and Maria, your last one or two, she was. It was great to hear from her. I mean, I haven't seen her since high school, but she was always smart. I knew she'd be, inspiring. I didn't know she would be a teacher, but I knew she would do something. Yeah, but she was always top notch.
Yeah. Hey, that's the idea. It's very easy to live in the past or live in the future and not be in the moment, and yet build on your past, to be able to live a present and a future that matters. So that's the idea here. So, bro, pleasure. Blessings to you and your fam. I'm looking forward to maybe the next couple World Cup cycles. We may have some Bonomo action to look forward to.
You never know. We could use the help. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, U.S. is taking some baby steps forward. So maybe they can use some of that Bonomo passion on the pitch.
That'd be awesome.
All right, big guy. Have a great one. Thanks again for sharing.
No problem. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.